Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, or team up against a guest and battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 1. Hello, podsters. This is our last episode of the year, and this week, as a pretty ginormous movie is ending the year, Avatar: The Way of Water is finally coming to our big screens around the world. And of course, we are talking James Cameron films, and we are joined by a returning guest, people, from one of our spoiler special episodes, Wakanda Forever, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Leigh from the Lights Camera Rant podcast. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. Thank you very much for inviting me again. It was a pleasure last time, and I'm really excited for this.
Cool. And of course, I am joined by a man who still doesn't know why we cry. Boaz Dix, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
Wrong Terminator film, but yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, that's the one I could work in that worked well with you. So.
Fair enough.
So, Leigh, tell us about your podcast. And where can we find it?
You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you stream your local podcasts. Yeah, and we're on Instagram, Twitter, even LinkedIn. I tried LinkedIn as well. And yeah, we talk similar like you guys. We just talk about movies, TV shows, video games, and rant on and lots of tangents. Lots of tangents.
Nice. So Avatar 2 is coming out, The Way of Water. Certainly at the end of our Wakanda Forever spoiler special, Leigh, I got the sense you're not a massive fan of James Cameron.
His early work, fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just recently he just seems to be getting that stick further and further up his ass to the release of Avatar. Even the other day I saw he mentioned that if he were to not direct Avatar 3 or 4, he would have to train the next director because only he could do it.
Apparently so. I feel like with James Cameron, he's like an engineer as well as a filmmaker, I think, because he's been developing like the Avatar sequels, let alone the first one, since since the first one finished, really. He did a lot of like deep sea documentaries as well, but they started production on this one and the Avatar 3 in like 2017 or something crazy. So he's been working on this for a while, and I think, working on the technology as well as just the script and things. So he's very much, in my eyes, like a pioneer of pushing the technology of cinema. I'm a fan of Avatar. I do really like that one. Just the scope that he was going for in there. Yeah, so I'm very much looking forward to this sequel. The CGI level of quality looks insanely good. So from that trailer, so it'll be interesting to see where we go with these characters on this sequel. Boaz, you excited for this one?
I'm like marginally excited.
Okay.
But definitely the CGI, like the trailers, piqued my interest mainly because of how just good. I think especially all the underwater stuff, just how good that looks.
And obviously recently he said as well that literally this has to be like in the top 5 of best-selling films of all time to break even. That is insane.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Wow. He might be setting himself up for failure. That is a pretty crazy...
That's what I mean. That stick's getting further.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's so far up there, I heard a story that James Cameron literally kicked an executive out of his office because he wanted the film to be less than 3 hours, or, the running time to be shorter. So get the fuck out of my office.
Yeah. I think I heard that. Yeah, he wanted cuts. He said, "Get the fuck out of my office." And I think he was even bragging about like something like the studio parts of it wouldn't even be made if he didn't work with them.
Yeah, he's like, Titanic built the studio, so we're doing it my way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's like, and you can fucking tell me how to do it.
You're completely right. And the thing is, like, besides his personality, give or take, he's done a fantastic career, and he's completely pushed the engineering of camera work. As you said, he's developed all this. Avatar was beautiful when it came out, rightly so. Especially when you saw it in 3D, it was gorgeous. Especially when they were in I think it's the forest. Was it the forest? And you see all the jellyfish. Well, not jellyfish, but you know what I mean. And the new trailer, CGI looks crisp, which kind of is a refreshing thing from seeing the latest stuff from Marvel, seeing how jarring their CGI has been a little bit being. So seeing the trailer for Avatar has been like, whoa, that's right. This is what CGI can do given the time. Well, 10 years?
It's a long time.
I am looking forward to a lot of these sequels, but at the same time, I'm like, because this has been his plan from like as Cameron as a child. Really, I remember him in an interview saying that he was drawing Avatar type creatures at school. So this is a lifelong dream of his to make this world that he's had in his head since childhood. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, I kind of would like to see him do something a bit different and not commit the rest of his life to Avatar films. But
so would I. Yeah,
he's gonna be 80.
Yeah, I know. I think it is a tremendous shame that it's like a 13-year gap and like he hasn't come out with anything that's not Avatar. It's like, man, you could have done at least something, But yeah, apparently, I was just watching a thing, and apparently, like the first one, he wanted to release it in 1999, like that early, but the technology wasn't there.
Oh.
So yeah, he is absolutely obsessed with this this series.
Overly obsessed. I mean, I don't know how much involvement he has in the video game that's going to be coming out as well. But I hate to be the people making that game.
Man, he'd chew you out for like fucking 10 hours.
Doesn't look like the movie. What the hell? Come on.
You get one hair out of place. Beats the shit out of you.
Our film then, for James Cameron films, we initially went with The Abyss, but you can't find it anywhere on streaming. I do have it on DVD, but you guys don't have it, so I thought, shit, we better change our pick.
Yeah, wait, hang on a minute. You said you guys didn't have it. I have it.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. Fair enough. So it's all Leigh's fault.
You let the side down.
I'll take that. Just no, Netflix, Stan, nothing. And usually YouTube is my last resort because you have to pay for it. That doesn't even have it.
So obviously the next obvious choice would be Terminator 2, but we have covered that in the past on our Arnold Schwarzenegger episode way back when. So we went with the Terminator for our third pick, for our third choice. I remember watching this as a kid and being pretty terrified of this endoskeleton chrome robot, with deadly red eyes. It was just like, oh my God, this is incredibly scary. Yeah, just watching it late at night as a child in bed, on TV.
This looks all right.
Yeah, I still really enjoy this. I think tonally it is a lot darker and a lot more bleak than Terminator 2.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So what happens in the Terminator though?
Hey, I'm James Lovino, and I'm here to tell you about Alternate Sides, a movie podcast with a twist. I've worked in the film business for 2 decades, but I haven't actually seen that many movies, and this has been driving my frequent collaborator, Sam, a self-confessed film snob, crazy. So every week, while he's stuck in his car trying to avoid getting a parking ticket, thanks to New York City's alternate side parking regulations, we discuss a classic film I've finally just gotten around to seeing. Alternate Sides, a new podcast about movies, parking, and a 25-year friendship, wherever you get your podcasts.
So the Terminator is the story of a young waitress called Sarah Connor, and she's kind of, just a blur, really. She's not very special, not very important, pretty ditzy waitress. However, a cyborg from the future, time travels back to murder her, and a protector from the future by the name of Kyle Reese also goes back in time to save her from this killing machine played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Because it turns out her son, that she hasn't had yet, because timey-wimey wobbly stuff, when he's born...
Doctor Who reference there?
Yeah, and he becomes an adult, he will destroy all the machines. So they sent, they're trying to stop that from happening by... I think one of the characters say like a temporal abortion or something like that, like a time-traveling abortion. It's essentially what they're trying to do.
Cool. So, initial reactions to this one, Leigh?
Growing up, I always saw Terminator 2 on normal TV. It was always the one that played. So it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I actually went back and realized, there's a first one to this? Oh, okay. Yeah. And watching it, I just remember thinking, this is actually a bit darker and a bit bleaker compared to number 2. Especially like no jokes and a little bit more gruesome with Arnie, his makeup and everything. But it really did set the tone for what's yet to come. And it's like a perfect 80s type of movie as well. But I could see why people gravitated to it. It was such a different story. And scary story too. Like a machine coming back to kill you. It seems to can't go further back to kill you when you're a kid. To really stop the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really go into like the time travel aspect. I guess it's just it's just a budgetary problem they solved, because I think Cameron wanted to make this film as a all in like this a dystopian future, but because of budget stuff they can't make the whole film like that. But so okay, let's set it in the modern day and just use time travel. So that was kind of just the budget device, if you will, that has time travel in it, why it's in it,
Yeah, I think I even heard because he had a dream of the Terminator, which because I've heard this story where he just imagined like the endoskeleton basically, and he was like, Jesus, that would be really scary, robot takeover like that. I think what helps the idea that they're covered in human flesh and human tissue, that was more a budgetary thing of okay, how can we film this on a limited budget? And there's a story reason, okay. You know what I mean? They disguise themselves as humans. Okay, so through most of the film, you can just get a guy. That said, even though most of the time Arnie is, a guy and it's mostly set in the past, you do have some really cool scenes darted throughout where, you see the robotics or you see the future. So I think that's pretty cool.
So directing then, the opening scene is great where the effects of the lightning still looks pretty good for me. And the backlighting on Arnold as he's crouched with the smoke looks pretty cool. But when he meets the punks, he kills one of them by literally ripping his heart out. That right there creates the tone of this film. This is going to be a brutal thriller, and this guy is
fatality,
pretty strong. And Bowers mentioned it, but I love the first flash forward scene where Kyle Reese is blowing up like a massive Terminator machine. The atmosphere of this burnt and full of rubble landscape is just so bleak. The humans look dirty and tired looking. It's not black and white, but everything is kind of, grey, black and white.
There's no colour, nothing.
Yeah, but the one colour is from the plasma rifle fire,
Those pinks that really contrast with the entire tone. Everything is grey, brick, cold metal, steel, black, but you have these plasma fires. I love the look of that. This is why I kind of think it's such a shame that when they did the Future War eventually in Terminator Salvation, that looks nothing like that. It's really like you have one job. He did it perfectly in the first film. Just do that, but longer. And they couldn't even do that.
Yeah, it was bad.
Is that 4, 5, or 6? Which Terminator that is?
I don't remember.
Oh, which Terminator is that? Jesus, I think it's 4.
There's just 2 in my head, frankly.
Yeah, there are 2 in my head. This is why Cameron should have got his head out of the Avengers, not the Avengers, the Avatar stuff, and done the last couple of Terminator films, because all the Terminator films after 2 are just garbage. They've made 6 so far, and only 2 are good. To me, that blows my fucking mind.
6 and a TV show.
Yeah, and a TV show. I haven't watched the TV show, but should probably for completion.
Yeah. But I think my favourite shot in that is actually like the transition shot of the construction vehicle tracks to like the Terminator tracks is brilliantly done, because you've gone back to the future because of the added skulls. It's a brilliant identifier to set up from the opening shot of the film.
How do you know you're in the present day? There's less skulls.
Yeah. What kind of construction site is that? It's like owned by the mafia or something.
Yeah.
Well, it was the 80s, so like...
yeah, exactly.
Well, it's just a normal Tuesday right there.
The surgery scene is interesting, where the Terminator fixes something, on his forearm. Like he cuts it to open it up, and you see the robotic arm, and it looks, really good in my opinion. But when he removes his eye, it clearly cuts to an animatronic to show that he's got a metal red glowing eye. But even as a kid watching it for the first time late at night on my TV, it didn't look good then.
No, I don't think that scene has ever looked good.
No, but they cut back to that animatronic several times before he puts his glasses on, and I think you only need like one of those shots really, or just even a few tight ones on his eye. I don't really understand why they keep going back to that. Maybe they thought he looked good at the time, but I don't. It's like, this is not good.
Yeah, I think it's my least favorite thing about this one, and what they almost certainly improved in the sequel, because like in the sequel he would get it in the face. You remember in like the lobby fight? Oh man, I really wish we did the second one. That is like my favorite film and my favorite action film. But yeah, like he's taking rounds in the face, and that stuff's going on, and that's like turns out like most of that is like a prosthetic and puppetry and stuff. But that looks fucking great, Like they learned a lot after this film.
Yeah, there is a mixture of like prosthetic makeup and animatronics, and I feel like they go with the animatronics like more than the makeup sometimes, which I find a bit odd.
Yeah.
There's even, I didn't notice the first time, but like there's actually quite a lot of animatronic shots while he's driving the truck near the end. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
And that's kind of strange, because I thought he looked pretty good, when he tells the second guy, he's like hobbling and he gets in the truck, get out of the truck and turns to him, because that's makeup. I was like, that looks cool. Just keep him like that, just keep the makeup. The makeup looks fine.
Even when I watched with the animatronics, I remember thinking, yeah, that's a bit like, oh, why'd you only really had to use him in like one scene. Just that when he's in the hotel, like you didn't have to keep using him.
And I think it's one of those things, like, I think it would be less noticeable if you just, one, if the room was darker, and two, you did it very briefly. So you're like, boom, oh, he's missing an eye. And then, just cut away from that. So I can sort of forget about that. Don't linger on...
Yeah, like a shock.
Yeah, don't linger on it too long. But they do linger on that a bit.
I think one of my favourite scenes, actually, is the Terminator's raid on the police station is great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you. I was just about to say that. I was like...
Yeah.
The scene that kind of set Arnie's catchphrase career alit.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
And then what does he come back with? A car. He comes back with a fucking car.
And I like the fact that he literally, you don't see like the red vision, but he's looking around the structure of the room before he does it, which I quite like in a detail. He crashes through the reception area. Then it's just pure violence and brutality. The cops don't even stand a chance at all. It's just point and shoot for the Terminator. There's no like particular directing style to it. And I think it works better for it to get this unstoppable feel to this character. The two cops that the film has committed so much time to just get killed just like that. It's so brutal. Even like Lance Hendrickson doesn't even... I think he may have been cut. I don't know, but he dies off screen. I think, he shoots him, but you don't see him die, but it's very implied that he dies.
Yeah, he hits the door frame and like takes cover, and then the other guy goes and he gets shot. I mean, yeah. One thing I really find cool about that, which they incorporate in the other films, is just like as he shoot, like he doesn't move. He is just a statue, so he doesn't duck or take cover. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And I like how the squibs and like the bullet effects of like when he's struck. So it's just boom, hitting him in the shirt, and in the back the cops are, and his clothes are tearing up. So it's pretty good squib effects, for the budget as well. And just turns around, bang, boom, hits him, bang. Really great scene.
You got a favorite scene, Leigh? Favorite shot?
Well, my shot was the police one. Watching the first time, I was like, oh, he's just going to come with a bigger gun. No. I'm going to come with a car. Maybe another good scene I did enjoy, just like for like intensity, is when he's walking through the nightclub and he finds Sarah Connor for the first time. You get this really big dude looking around, and then just slowly, as he points the gun to her, and you're like, shit. But no one wonders why there's a giant guy in a trench coat just walking around. Like this muscly Austrian walking around.
Well, I guess in the 80s they didn't really pay attention to fashion, so you wear what you want in that time. So.
True.
Well, to be honest, who's going to mess with him, really? Like, realistically. Yeah. Like, one of the guys even goes to say, like, you haven't paid, and he just breaks his hand and just carries on walking. Like, that's not the person you talk with. I love the symmetry in that when he aims at her in the nightclub. It's symmetried with, like, the first Sarah Connor he killed. Where he drove up to her house, like with a lorry or whatever, or no, with like a van or something, and crushed this kid's lorry toy, and it was like, you Sarah Connor, and he just smashes open the door, and it goes into slow motion, and he like aims the receptacle and then shoots her, and then that's kind of a redo of that. So you're like, oh, she's gonna have the same fate, and then Kyle steps in. I also, I just like how that whole sequence just builds up in. In intensity and in just suspense, So it's like, she's afraid Kyle is following her. She's lost Kyle. She's on with the police. Then Arnie, like, comes in and you're like, shit. And, like, he's just center focused and, the camera's just on him and it's tracking him all the way through. And then you've got to her. And then I love that bit because I don't even remember this the other times I watched this, where something knocks over her table and she goes to pick it up, and then like the foreground comes in focus and Arnie was right there, looking for her. He just like misses her, he just kind of looks away and carries on.
Looks her way and she's under the table.
Yeah, just as she's coming up, you're like, whoa, that's close. So that was a cool moment. I like some scene transitions. So I think one of my favorite ones is where there's they're sleeping under the underpass. Like Kyle has a flashback to, I suppose it would be a flash forward because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But to like the future.
Get it right, Buzz. Was it forward? It's at the back?
Yeah. Time travel. So anyway, I just love like how he's got, a picture of Sarah Connor, and then the dogs like, see that Terminator, and he like lays into everybody and everything's on fire, and then he's looking at the picture and the picture goes on fire, like of her face, just like singes at the edges and just burns all the way through the photo. And then just before it's just done burning through the face, then it cuts to her face as she wakes up in the underpass. It's almost like in the exact same point in the camera that the photo of her face was. I just thought that is just like that's a chef kiss. That's a really good transition. So I fucking love that one. That was really good.
I'm sure James Cameron's like, look at this and like, yeah, someone in 20 years is going to call this a chef's kiss right here. Why I'm up to Avatar 3.
Yeah.
It's definitely a chef's kiss from that kid who found a rat for dinner. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But also in that scene, just how brutal it is. Like the Terminator is just mowing people down,
Oh yeah.
Very Jason. Very like Jason-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't give a fuck.
They don't, like the humans just don't stand a chance. There's no heroism in that scene at all. It's just get out the way and survive. But the only thing that bothered me with that and again, it's another effects thing. Like he has like glowing red eyes, but the eyes seem really low down on his face, like right on his cheeks or whatever. I don't know if you guys noticed that. I'm like, I feel like the fake eyes here have slipped down. But
there was also another like scene, which is another like flashback one that I quite liked, which was an earlier one, where he's in the car, and I think we talked about it. It goes from the the construction outside to the future war, and then all that stuff. But I love how that scene ends, where him and his guys, they're in a car. It's been flipped up, and it's being one of the hunter killers is like just going over it with its tracks. It's sinking. It's on fire. The flames are calling out. He's trying to drag out of the car, and he's screaming. And then it just like cuts to him in the car, just like what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? Like quick drawing his shotgun. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, some great fast cutting with the car going along with the hunter killer chasing him. That was great actually. But I think my favorite scene for me has to be the last action scene where you see the Terminator just as a metal skeleton. It's just brilliant and scary, especially if you see it as a kid, as I did for the first time. Yes, some of the effects shots are quite dated, where they're clearly using stop motion in some of the wide shots. There's something just quite terrifying seeing like the Terminator all practical in that chrome design with red eyes, just never stopping. Certainly from a practical point of view, I think it's just quite clever that the Terminator is hobbling so that movement is not smooth. And I think if it wasn't broken and narratively completely functional, it wouldn't look as convincing or terrifying, frankly. So I feel like that was quite a good move from Cameron, because yes, I think the practical effects in that aren't, well, it feels like really difficult to get that thing working properly to look good on screen. So I think to make it a bit clunky and a bit broken, which it is, I mean, it's been absolutely whacked around. Like that truck just goes completely under it. That crash just before that scene starts, when you've still got Arnie, is proper brutal. So
yeah, it was a hell of an explosion as well.
It just makes it more menacing that it just keeps going,
When you see the Terminator at the far end, you understand why he was, why Arnie was in the majority of the time, and why there's only this section you actually finally see the Terminator in its full skeleton, because you could not do a whole movie with that happening. No way. No. But you're right. It's the definition in this scene is like an unstopping killing machine, like something that's just not slowing down. Doesn't like. I think she best says it in Terminator 2. Doesn't get tired. Doesn't eat. Has one mission. Keeps going.
Yeah, it's just such a striking image as well, like seeing that metal endoskeleton for the first time with the fire as its backdrop. It's just an incredible like horror science fiction image. Love it.
Well, look how many times it's been parodied.
Yeah,
that movie alone and the storyline has been set in so many science fiction stories now. I mean, it's so parodied for so many times. And the exoskeleton of a Terminator is in how many mediums now?
From that point, you get like so many fake out deaths, for the Terminator, which are all done like straight faced. You know what I mean? They're done seriously, which makes, I think, where it jumps up, you're like, oh shit,
come on!
Yeah, it's like, come the fuck, yeah, exactly. So when the lorry explodes, it's completely fucked. And I like how you see just kind of Arnie in the, and it kind of focuses on him. He's in the foreground, then he's in more center into the camera and stuff. And he's on fire. Like, he's just caught on fire. I like how he just doesn't care. He's still trying to walk. He's on fire. He's a machine. And then just like falls down, hits the pavement, and like, his synthetic skin is melting and his clothes are burning. And it keeps on that for a couple of seconds, and then on her, and she's like, it's done. And then, it's in the background, and then you have that scene, and then it chases them. And then I also love, like, later after it explodes, and, then she goes to check on Kyle. It's very heartfelt. And then he springs back to life, the top half, and, like, chases her. And that was pretty badass, how it's like, it grabs her by the throat, even. And then, she crushes the fucking thing.
Have you got a favourite scene or shot, Boaz?
Oh, Jesus. I think my favourite I like that fire transition. I think that was really damn good. That's probably my favorite shot. My favorite scene would be the shoot up in the police station. That would be my favorite scene. Just the whole damn thing.
Directing score, Leigh. What are you going for the Terminator?
Thing is, I really wish I didn't watch Terminator 2 before watching this.
Yeah, same.
I think most people our generation watched T2 first.
Yeah, because Terminator 2, to me, I think it holds up so well. Yeah, it just holds up so well. It still looks so damn good.
Especially now.
Yeah. I think it still looks better than like half of the fucking movies that come out.
It does.
Yeah. And, and to be honest, like I could talk at length about Terminator 2. We really need to redo that episode.
Yeah. Well, if you're looking for a guest.
Yeah, definitely. Like, they pioneered and started so many things in CGI because of that movie. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you watch that and you go back, you're like, ah. But yeah, if you were to like go back and just watch the first one, then watch the second one, then you go, wow, the second one is, that was great, and the second one's more of an improvement. I do like the obviously like the more the horror element in it as well, like, which is missing from the other ones. But yeah,
I'd give it a 7.5. The first crack at a fresh storytelling. This more horror, I'd say, more of a horror sci-fi than what the sequels later came to be. Really set the presence. And another thing that we didn't mention is the music.
Oh, yeah. So iconic.
Yeah, the music's damn good.
How iconic. Like, it's like a Jaws theme.
Yeah.
like it's a Jaws or a Jason or like the Joker. Like, as soon as you hear that kick in, it just, the suspense goes right up.
Absolutely. It kind of kicks that stuff up, like just before an action scene or like when he's about to kill someone or whatever.
I'm willing to go a little higher. Maybe like a flat 8, or is that too generous?
No. Because this was made at a hell of a budget. This is one thing you've got to remember. So what he was able to accomplish with like almost no money is really pretty damn good. And I'm like, man, if he had like the money, like, I mean, then it would look like Terminator 2. It's one of those things. I think he even wanted like the liquid Terminator in Terminator 1 as well.
Yeah.
For them to both go at it.
That was the original idea, yeah.
I can't imagine how that would have looked like in Terminator 1.
That would have looked like crap. Like with that budget, there's no possible way. But the fact that he made a big, success out of like a really small budget and pushed his budget to the max, and then made like a much better technical movie.
Well, he also had to. I do remember reading about this. Is guerrilla filmmaking too?
Yeah.
So when he was shooting this movie, he didn't have all the permits to shoot at night. So they had to do it at night without cops knowing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, they had to just like do it quick and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, that does feel very James Cameron.
Go. But like, even for something like that as well, that he pulled this off, I still stick with 7.5.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you got to judge it with what it is rather than what it's attempting to be. But
I think regardless of budget, I still really appreciate this very bleak, dark tone that this thing is so formidable. It's literally, I mean, the action is literally just point and shoot. The humans don't have a chance at all. Whereas in Terminator 2, like, the odds are a bit evenly matched with the fact that, Arnie is on the good side this time. It's more of a romp, and there is some more levity moments in Terminator 2. This is very bleak and dark tone, and it really goes down that road and never lets up. So I really like that.
Do you remember that like scene with her friend when she got killed in her apartment, and like the boyfriend like sees him breaking through the window, and tries to stop him, and he's just like just through the window, through the dash, through the door. It's like, you can't do a fucking thing against this guy.
The Terminator literally treats that guy like a nuisance. Yeah, just get out of my way, please. Go away. I don't want to waste bullets on this guy.
I could break you without shedding a bullet.
So should we go flat 8 then?
I go flat 8. Yeah.
So screenplay then. Like, the love that Kyle Reese has for Sarah is quite interesting to me. Yes, at first it feels like quite a narrative stretch that a man from the future can fall in love with a girl from a picture alone. But the flash forward scene depicting such a desolate world, I feel like, a person with literally nothing to love could fall in love with a picture from the past. I think the audience has to do a lot of work to fill in the gaps there with this love that Kyle has for Sarah. But like, also in the future, I would love to see, I don't know, I can't remember the sequels. They're not amazing as we all know, but I would love to see in the future, like John Connor, obviously he knows that Kyle Reese is his dad. So I would love to see something where John Connor is manipulating Kyle Reese in some way to fall in love with Sarah in their present, during, the bleak times post-nuclear war.
Yeah, they don't do that at all, as far as with my memory serves.
Well, give him the picture and be like, she's hot, isn't she? She's my mother. You want to shag her, don't you? Yeah. You want to have sex with her? I'm going to send you back in time to have sex with my mother.
I'm not going to exist. All right. Regretted teeth.
Here's a photo, and here's Back to the Future. You'll get the hint.
Yeah.
What I want you to do.
Yeah.
Here's some Viagra. Here's everything you need. A penis pump. It's everything.
What? Michael Bean doesn't need Viagra.
Just in case. It's just in case. You can't leave anything to chance.
Just for emergencies, Kyle. Just for emergencies.
I just found this random photo of a woman. Oh, lucky we have a time machine, don't we?
Did you guys want to see that in more of a serious, sincere way? Is that just too weird to show on screen?
No, not really. I mean, they did kind of try that in Terminator Salvation, because Kyle Reese gets captured.
Don't remember that.
Don't you? It's a very forgettable movie. But yeah, Kyle Reese gets captured, and I think the machines wise up that it's his dad, and he saves him at the end. So, that happens. They don't really share that much screen time with each other, but he is a goal in that film.
I mean, what do you reckon about the love story element of this film? Does it work for you guys or not?
Look, it makes sense for the plot. And look, it's not only that, it's become like the most integral thread in nearly all the Terminator movies. When she meets Kyle, like that's like the pivot point. For just the movie, I think it's a good plot that, oh my God, he's the dad.
It's a good surprise element, I guess.
They just don't go any further than that.
Yeah. I think for what's there, I think there is enough. And I do like films where, the audience has to fill in a lot of the gaps in terms of what's going on. You certainly have to do that a lot emotionally as well, of what Kyle is feeling. Because like the first time they really meet, Kyle is really trying to hide his emotions of how he feels for Sarah. He's basically just barking at her about what the Terminator is all about. He won't stop and all that, and he's a cyborg. And obviously at that point for Sarah, she thinks he's a psycho. He thinks he's a nutter. And obviously when they get arrested in the police station, all the cops are basically saying, yeah, he's a psycho. He's a nutcase. I don't think they really go into that much, and I don't think you need to, of where, of this predicament for Sarah of is he crazy or not? And because obviously when the Terminator arrives, that problem is solved immediately for Sarah. So
yeah, this crazy nuts that apparently if you time travel, all your clothes disappear. Apparently he's been here naked. Really weird. Love that's the only thing in time travel that doesn't stay on your body.
Got to have a dramatic entrance.
Arnie had in his contract that I must be shirtless.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a scene before I get shot.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not wasting all this, sexy muscles.
Naked time travel, done. They'll fix that problem.
I quite like in a lot of the action scenes as well is that, Reese and Connor are basically just surviving the action scenes from the Terminator. They're not really winning over
fighting back.
The fights. Yeah, they're not fighting back at all. It's very much survival. Whereas in Terminator 2, there is more of a fight element, a battle element in that film. It's not here. Kyle Reese is not a hero really. He's just someone to guide Sarah and obviously impregnate her. But but you mentioned like the second flash forward Bowers, like he doesn't save the day in that scene. He's just trying to survive like everyone else. So
yeah, he's obviously trying to do the right thing, but he can definitely see where he's just completely outmatched, and he should get the fuck out of Dodge. Like it even, he has trouble even at the beginning with just a handful of officers. Maybe like 3 officers. So I mean, you can tell he is not like, Stallone or whatever. He's not like he's just a regular guy. Just a regular guy that happens to know what's going on.
But it very much, ups the stakes. Like, this is a massive risk from the human race, just sending one guy back. The odds are so stacked against them. This is just a big wild card they're using for the setup of this film. It's great. Again, it just adds to this brutality aspect of this dark tone of this film. It's just very much a close shave of them getting out of these action situations for our don't want to say hero because they're not. They're just surviving really for our characters, for our main characters. I do like, how James Cameron like structures his films. Like he does a very similar thing in this film at the end, like in Aliens, where you think the heroes have won the day. Moments later, you discover that the threat is still coming after them. In this film, Kyle Reese blows up the tanker that the Terminator was driving. There's great shots of the Terminator burning. Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor embrace, like the emotional music starts. And then all of a sudden, the metal skeleton of the Terminator is still coming after them. And then you think it's finished again when Kyle Reese sacrifices himself by blowing up the Terminator. You think it's destroyed. There's metal Terminator bits everywhere. Sarah sees Kyle dead. Then again, the upper half of the Terminator is still coming after her. So in Cameron films, you never really know for sure if the film has finished or not, literally until the credits have rolled. There could be a threat still to come. Favorite lines, people? What we got?
Is "I'll be back" too obvious? is that too obvious?
No.
That's a great line.
I think this guy's a couple of cans short of a 6-pack from Bill Paxton as a punk.
Yeah, that was funny.
Who was in Aliens too?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I was actually going to say that because so Lance Hendrickson and Bill Paxton are the only people who have been killed by the Predator, the Terminator, and an alien.
Oh, that's amazing.
They're the only 2 people in film history to be killed by those three horror creatures. Yeah.
That's cool.
I feel like you should get out a plaque.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
On his gravestone, on their gravestones.
This is what it took to kill me.
Yeah. But anyway, I just think that's a brilliant fact. I've known that for a while, but I just love that.
Pugsy, Shoo, go on. I'm going to make a belt out of you. I think that's really harsh from Sarah's friend. I'm glad she dies, to be honest. That lizard has done nothing wrong. He's just trying to find some food in the fridge, and you want to make him into a belt. That's just harsh.
So the Terminator is the hero. He actually came back in time to save that lizard.
Yeah.
All the other stuff's just side missions.
I'm just looking through my notes. Probably one of the most iconic lines, which has been parodied in everything, is "Come with me if you want to live."
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh yeah, that's mine.
I like the one where because this is always stuck in my head, like when she doesn't believe any of this shit and bites him, and he's just kind of like completely stone faced as she biting into him, and then like grabs her and pulls her off of him, and then he's like, Terminators don't feel any pain. I do. Do not do that again. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. So Reese is crazy. In technical terminology, he's a loon.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, my favourite is "Come with me if you want to live." It's just so epic. I love that.
Yeah. I think I might go with "Come with me if you want to live." That's a good one.
So Leigh, screenplay score, what are you going for?
It was pretty good. I'd still give it about that 7.5, 8. It's got some of the most iconic lines in cinema. It's got one of the most iconic love stories in sci-fi cinema, which still holds up to today. So I give about 7.5, 8.
8, is it? Or...
I'll give 8.
Baz, what should we go with then?
I was thinking 8.3.
Yeah, I was thinking 8.2. It's a very simple story, and as I think Leigh was spot on, really. It's an iconic love story in sci-fi, and just this very like time travel aspect of this film is just. It's not exactly clever, I wouldn't say, but it's just very simple to solve like a budgetary problem, which is so effective. So yeah, 8.3, I think. Acting then?
Yes, I'm very curious. What do you think of the acting of Arnie?
He acts like a robot. He's a great robot. Apparently, he auditioned for Kyle Reese. He actually really wanted to be Kyle Reese.
He did.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they wanted O.J. Simpson as the Terminator.
Yes.
But yeah, one of the things that I found hilarious is because I think James Cameron didn't want the Terminator to look like a killer because he's meant to blend in. But Arnie definitely does not blend in. He's a mountain of a man. And I think they wanted O.J. Simpson, and apparently they said, I think the execs were like, nah, he doesn't look like a killer. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't look threatening enough, like a villain, O.J. Simpson,
yeah.
which is absolutely hilarious if you believe some of the accusations.
Just get some gloves, we'll find out.
I'm not a machine. The glove did not fit.
Yeah, I think Arnie is better in Terminator 2. Like, I think he's showing too much emotion in this film, really. There's bits at times, especially when he's trying to pick out, like, Kyle and Sarah in at the start of the car chase. Like, he's doing too much with his eyes sometimes when he's chasing them in the car. And I can see Cameron with a megaphone shouting, "Arnold, remember, you're a robot. You're not playing an actual character.
Yeah.
You're a human character."
All those acting skills, don't use them.
Be wooden, completely wooden.
Do nothing with your face.
Or metal.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, I think they cut off his eyebrows for the because I always thought he looked weird, but apparently that was it. When he was just on fire and he jumps onto their car and like punches through it, and then they go off, and he's like steaming.
Yeah, that is quite funny, to be fair.
And he looks kind of weird because I kind of clocked on why he looks weird because I watched this thing. It's like they shaved his eyebrows, like they've been burnt off in the in the fire.
Yes, a great burning haircut.
Yeah, and because it's like a budget and stuff, what they used to make the smoke off of his jacket from the flames was acid.
What? Jesus.
Oh my God.
So he even talked about this in an interview. They poured acid all over his leather, so it's like steaming from the acid. And he said it was horrible. Like, the fumes would get in his eyes. His eyes fucking stung. It was just the nastiest shit.
Wow.
And he said that's how they filmed that scene.
So we're going to pour this on you. What's that? Acid. What? Yeah.
The goggles, they do nothing.
Fine.
The jacket, it does nothing. I can't imagine the role flip. I can't imagine Kyle Reese being Arnie and Kyle Reese being like the actor swap being the Arnie. Like, that would have been Terminator. That would have been horrible.
That would have been fucking weird.
Like, you wouldn't believe that this scrawny man can beat this massive bodybuilder Austrian.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, Arnie's like, we've got to go, like, he's very scary, he'll kill us. He can rip my heart out. Yeah. It's like, dude, you're like 3 fucking times the size of any other human being in this cast.
The muscles, they do nothing.
Yeah.
I quite liked the little acting moment from Linda Hamilton right near the end where Sarah has just crushed the Terminator in the factory and the arm is just left right on her throat, and it remains still, but she's still really scared and just feels the need to touch it to just check that it's actually stopped now. I just thought that was quite a nice little acting beat, if you will, from Linda Hamilton, of just like, I just need to check that it stopped. She has kind of a few badass moments in it where she presses the button to crush the Terminator, where she says, "You're terminated, fucker." That's great. But obviously the Sarah Connor that everyone knows and loves is the one from Terminator 2.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But I think because of her kind of very schoolgirl, well, not schoolgirl, but very everyday character she has in this, just makes that performance in the second film amazing because of the first one, because of the transformation you see.
Yeah, she's kind of really ditzy and sort of like, she forgets the order and she's like bumbling and, she's really kind of a bit airheaded. Even when shit's going down, she's just not like brave. She's not sure of herself. And she plays that pretty well. And she's like, she's this ditzy, just regular woman.
Yeah, I was like, that's another reason why you should watch the first one before you watch the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you watch the first one, you're like, nothing like you are in the second.
I do like, I like the end, like epilogue where, and that whole line of, there's a storm coming and she looks like, puts her glasses on. It's like, I know. I like that whole stuff.
You very much can see the beginnings of the new Sarah Connor that we're going to see in Terminator 2 in that little scene at the end. I guess in the borders of Mexico. Yeah. Of just in her eyes when she says that line, it's very much the beginning of her journey, of her transformation, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the little seeds of it.
I really like Michael Biehn in this, actually. I think he brings some great, intensity and badassery, I guess, as an action hero. But also there's some great vulnerability, especially, before the sex scene. He's really great and vulnerable emotionally, that he's been keeping this secret from her the whole time throughout this film, and then he, just admits that he loves her. There's a great mix of emotions that he goes through in this film. And it just surprises me that, Michael Biehn just didn't have a bigger career than he's had. There's not many films that he starred in throughout that period in the late 80s, 90s. It's a real shame, but I think he's got great charisma as a leading guy, especially in this film. I think he's great, and it's just such a shame.
Yeah, I've just gone through his IMDb, and not a whole lot. He was in one episode of The Mandalorian.
I think it's the one where Ahsoka comes in for the first time in live action.
Yeah, he was the bodyguard of that evil ex-Imperial girl with the staff. He was meant to be Mando's nemesis in that episode. They really didn't like each other, and they had a quick draw. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so it's a shame that he didn't have a bigger career, but my favourite performance is Michael Biehn, for sure. Who's your favourite performance, Leigh, for you?
The robot really, really sold for it. No, I think Linda Hamilton did a fantastic job in portraying Sarah Connor in that, as she's almost us, the audience. Holy shit, this is all happening. It's just meant. It starts with a normal day and then it just goes nuts. But I think she did a fantastic job in that first movie, that she becomes such the big anchor for the second movie. So I think her performance was fantastic. And then probably from that, next would be Michael Biehn, being this man so scared of the Terminator. And look, Arnie did a great job, but how much credit can you give?
I think even when if I were to talk about third place, I still wouldn't give it to Arnie. I would give it maybe to the psychologist. He was a twat, and he played a really good absolute twat.
Yeah, he's still a twat. He's still a twat in the second too.
In the second one, he's more of a twat. Yeah. God, I wish he killed him. Yeah.
Leigh, what's your acting score then?
I'll give it a 7, only because you got acting robot. It's a bit of a dip.
What should we go with then, Boaz? I don't know, 7.5 or 7.7. Yeah, I still like Michael Biehn in this a lot.
Yeah, so do I. I like Michael Biehn.
I think it's just Arnie does bring the score down a lot.
And also, there aren't like a huge amount of other side characters or anything like that.
No. They die pretty quickly.
And they die fairly quickly before they're allowed to establish themselves. And definitely, I think, Arnie, everybody got a lot better for the sequel. So did Arnie. Arnie's just improved as an actor, just in general.
7.5 then? Or
6, 7.6 maybe.
Okay, 7.6. Right, let's add up the scores then for The Terminator.
I remember I watched an interview with him. I think he was talking about a film he was going to be in, which was The Terminator, after Conan, and he didn't think it would be successful. He was like, I'm going to do this film, The Terminator, or whatever, but I think that's going to be good, but I don't know. It's probably not going to bring in that much money. I think in the interview he was dressed as Conan. I can't exactly remember, but yeah, and then it ends up being like the character he's known for. And even in other films that aren't The Terminator, he always has to say the fucking line. I think apparently he said that line in 17 movies. Like, there have been 6 Terminator movies, but 17 movies in total. He's always gone, "I'll be back." It's like his fucking catchphrase of a film.
"I'll be back."
Line. Everybody wants him to say that.
Well, look at is it Expendables 2?
Oh yeah,
he's like, I'll be back," and then Bruce Willis is like, "You've been back enough."
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah. Did you have you seen that interview where he talked about how he didn't want to say the line that he's very famous for? Where he had an argument with where he was like, "I just don't like this line. I'll be back." He's like, "One, I don't think a robot would abbreviate. I'll. It should be I will be back." Right? He's like, also. Yeah. My accent, I'm Austrian, it just doesn't sound right, it doesn't come out right,
And yet it's iconic, so...
Yeah, but he says, I just don't think it's a good line, maybe I should try it differently. And then what the hell did James Cameron say? James Cameron said, like, what does it say in the script? And he said, it says I'll. Exactly, so I write the script, you act, shut the fuck up, read what's in the script,
That's where I support James Cameron in his... method of madness.
Yeah, he is such an asshole director, isn't he?
Yeah.
Right. The Terminator gets a fairly impressive 46.4. Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't think it's going to be. That's it for part 1. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 2 to see who wins. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell us what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for Twitter at FVF_podcast. If you do, we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. If you're feeling really generous, you can buy us a one-off coffee at our Buy Me a Coffee account. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.